Welcome back, everybody. Declan Brennan is in the building, so too his opponent Jack Whelan. We are about to rumble in semi-final number 2 of the Ultimate Pool Pro Series 9. Stephen Jameson and Mark Shepherd here with you to guide you through what's hopefully another fantastic match. We seem to have hit a bit of a vein today of brilliant matches. It's been relentless action right from the beginning, really. Christophe Lambert and Tom Cousins seem to set the standard first thing this morning, and it has been amazing ever since. And let's hope these two can keep that streak alive, because if they can, we're in for a real treat this evening.
How do we go about topping that last match? So much quality, as you say, throughout the whole day. It just feels like right from ball one, just everybody's been on their A game. They've been lifting each other up. It's been the case one player started well and then the others had to compete. The man at the table, I think, has got better and better. We've seen 2 of his matches in the recent past on this main table. Played some good stuff against Jimmy Croxton, but got kind of drawn back into a match. And in his quarter-final, seemed to have that extra gear. I think it's been helpful for Jack as well to just have a bit of table time. He's only back from China a few days ago, playing a different version of the game. Needs a bit of time to get used to the smaller cue ball, get used to these conditions. Both of these two very close to the top of anyone's list when you're looking at picks for the tournament. See there, great shot from Jack. Bit unlucky with the outcome. Opened the one pocket up, but still got that ball tied up. Were it not for Tom Cousins, this would have been the season of Declan Brennan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number 2 on the rankings, but it's almost like the rest of the players were playing for that number 2 spot. Number 1 wasn't really available for them.
Yeah, he's had a good year, but like all great sportsmen, Declan Brennan wants to win. Doesn't really care if he's ranked 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. He wants trophies. That's what he's hunting tonight.
Yeah, it's very true what you say there. The rankings are of interest to us when we're analysing the game, but for the players it's all about the trophies. Different players obviously have different aspirations coming into the weekend. You could see in that last match what it would have meant to Greg Batten to make his first Pro Series final. For these two guys, they've already won Ultimate Pool titles before, so it's a different thing. It's more just about accumulating more wins. Jack Whelan's missed quite a few of the events as well this season.
Yeah, I agreed with what Si said earlier on, where, you know, these two are absolutely in that circle. It's quite ring-fenced, really, of the complete elite at this game. And if anyone is to take on the immovable object at the moment, that feels like, what a shot that is from Deck. That's fantastic. If anyone's going to be able to take on the immovable object that's Tom Cousins, you know, it could be, for example, Declan Brennan. He has got the game to do it. Can he then go on a run? He's threatened this year, you know, 3 games away from having 4 titles. It would be a Tom Cousins-esque year. 3 matches away. So he's knocking on the door. That was a fabulous shot. Very, very clever plant. A little bit more work to do, but all the hard work has been done by Declan Brennan.
You're absolutely right about that group of players, the real elite. There's so many players that absolutely could win a title. We've seen a lot of people win titles already and a lot come very close, but these two are guys that every time you just have them right at the top of the list. think Declan would admit he probably had a couple of years that wasn't quite hitting his own high standards, but this year, really right from the beginning, he's been in top form. Some good findings against Chris Melling. Another guy that's very much in that conversation, awkward opponent, as he squeezes the 8-ball in.
Brennan.
So first look at the famed Whelan break. Well, not as many balls as usual, but it does find one. Goes without saying, the break's going to be a key factor. So in the pool we've seen today, no one's relying on misses from their opponents. Bit of an end-of-term feeling. Last Pro Series event, weekend of the year. Final trip to Blackpool for a lot of these players. A lot of us have been coming to Blackpool a lot over the last few years. A few different venues on the horizon next year.
Yellow ball's in play.
Just slightly overdone that. Try and land the one to the left corner. He's going to have to go up the table next. Can't put the one over the left corner without bending it, and doesn't really want to get into that.
Yeah, for all of us, it's our last known Blackpool tournament for a while. But for Jack, it's his last ultimate pool tournament, at least for the foreseeable. Made that announcement earlier on today when we had him in the studio, and said to him, you know, from my personal perspective, huge shame to not have him at all these events. I think he's such an asset, but at the same time, I'm really happy for him that he's chasing a dream. Not everyone is able to be able to do that, and he's one of them individuals, Jack, who when he really puts his mind to something, he's very tunnel visioned, very dedicated. He wants to be able to do that with his sport of choice, and all the very best to him. It would be some statement to go out on top there.
Yeah, he mentioned that in the interview after the last match as well. I think he would like to snap off one more title before he leaves. Yeah,
he was quite coy about it, wasn't he? He said he said to me earlier, he said, I'm not too fussed about it, but you know, Penny's like, you know, his partner's like, yeah, I really want you to win. Yeah, I think it'd be nice, and I like that.
He certainly wouldn't put it past him. I mean, he's
No,
down to the last
not.
3 players, so he's in a good position anyway.
Just wants to hold on the red here. Oh, I tell you what, for a player who's not used to playing with sort of these equipment, he's still got those little touches.
Yeah, that's the kind of shot you can miss that cannon by miles. He judged that really well. I think if he wanted to beat Jack Whelan, the early rounds would have been the time. He's just getting better and better as he goes through and has more table time.
And that will sort of, you know, it's the riding a bike analogy. Once you can do it, you won't forget. I think there's a match sharpness element to it, but I think Jack's shown this year that if you get to that sort of a level, it's always kind of there for you.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? We've seen people try and transition over from other games where I think a lot of the viewing public would have said this guy's going to come in and clean up, but it's not generally proved as easy as that. These guys that have been playing for years and years just have that extra few percent. I think Jack's making the right decision in that transitioning between Chinese pool and English pool is, for me, one of the more difficult transitions. I think the fact the cue ball's so much bigger does change the mechanics quite a lot. We've seen people like Chris Melling who've managed to combine the two, but I don't blame Jack. I think if you're going to really give something a go, you probably do need to have that tunnel vision that you talked about. He's going to be a loss for our game, though. I kind of suspect this isn't going to be the end, though. I think he's going to focus on it for a while, but I'm sure sooner or later he'll be tempted back. He's too good not to have a few more exploits on this table.
Yeah, never say never. Declan Brennan is a man who absolutely will still be around next year to try and take that mantle off of the dictator that is Tom Cousins, but he'll be disappointed with that yellow, that's for sure. It's not exactly an ideal chance for him, but a chance nonetheless.
I think one of the things that's making Tom so intimidating right now is just he looks relaxed as he ever does, but almost seems to be kind of embracing it. He's far more vocal in interviews than he used to be, and seems to be enjoying his role, sort of almost like one of the elder statesmen of the game now. He's sort of expecting him to win. He's expecting himself to win.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything. I think the key with Tom is I don't think he himself is consciously doing anything different. I think he's just becoming more used to everything. And you know, I think previously when he was, you know, a notoriously hard interview, you know, there was an element of him where he couldn't really see what was in it for him, I suppose. And I think as the game's grown and developed over the last few years in particular, you know, it's fairly obvious to see where everything's going, and he's embraced it. But I don't think he's changed his personality or changed necessarily the way that he acts. I think he's just got used to stuff. I think a lot of players have, to be honest.
Yeah, it's so much easier to enjoy the game when it's going well.
That's very true.
Just want to play more and more of it.
Well, speaking of enjoying the game when it's going well, I'm not sure Jack's enjoying this frame, because this has gone a little bit wrong. Tried to play a recovery shot there after a loose positional shot, and now he is right up against it, and it's really tough to see a way out from here. Oh, he flukes it. Oh, well, that's one way out.
That'll work.
He's still got a lot of work to do, mind. That's the only thing that'll sort of salve the Declan Brennan wounds from that shot. Pretty disgusting fluke from Jack, but there's still a lot of work to do here.
Yeah, he missed the pot by a long way. He's actually got a fairly good angle here. He's naturally going to come over to the left-hand side. He's never going to have a great shot at that last red, but if he does pot this, he's going to have a shot, I think. Oh, that's a good shot. Oh, well. Is he going to have a shot, though? Not if he sneaks behind this yellow.
How do you like that?
That's about lucky, actually, given what a good shot he's played to pot that red down the rail. I think Declan will be relieved to be back at the table. I would imagine he expected to be from the position Jack was in, but for a moment it looked like Jack might just find a way out from there. He's pulled out some big clearances this weekend, have all the players that have got to this stage of the tournament, but for the most part, most of the top players, it's about control. It's about trying to make the game easy, not getting involved in chasing after the highlights reel moments. As we say that, what a mistake from Declan. Only one red on the table, and he's managed to finish in tight behind it. Anywhere either side of that, short of that, past it. This is the one place he couldn't end up. He's got a decent shot at least, come off the top cushion and off the left-hand side cushion to target the one that's over the corner pocket. He was always going to come close to that, and if he didn't pot it, he was at least likely to leave some difficulty. This is awkward now for Jack, because even though you can see the potting angle of the red, it's a difficult pot queuing over the yellow. And just played naturally, he's not really going to have any kind of shot at the 8-ball. Could just decide to try and roll it in. If he's able to see the 8-ball at least, may just be able to squeeze it past the yellow off the cushion. Don't think he can afford anything extravagant. Such a tough pot that. And a let off for Declan, because that was a very careless positional shot.
Yeah, real let off. We don't tend to get many of those in a semi-final. He didn't get any at all in the first semi, for example. There was one mistake in the whole match, and my goodness me, was it punished. Just joining us, Greg Batten, defeated by Craig Waddingham, 7-6. Greg Batten was 6-3 in front, had a chance to win the match. Craig hadn't done anything wrong at this stage. Took on a tough finish, took it out brilliantly, dured his penultimate red, and then saw no further action in open table. Tough school. That is beautifully cued.
Needed a second chance, but no mistakes that time round. Neither player really done anything wrong. It was a very good quality match, and then somehow Declan just got more chances in the last 3 frames and managed to get over the line.
You can't quite believe that Jack's not going to come to the table after this break. What a great break. 8 balls down. I mentioned this earlier because it happened earlier. I will say it again. My least favourite rule in international rules. But Declan's to the table. 8 ball gets respotted. It's not counted as a legal ball on the break. Golden break isn't in action in the Pro Series.
Yeah, I think that almost makes it harsher, doesn't it? I mean, I kind of agree with you about the rule, but then the fact that also in a number of our events that would have won you the frame, it's incredibly harsh that it just counts as a dry break.
Yeah, I think my logic's sound, but I also do see the reason why the rule is as it is. But I just think it's a daft one. But I can think a lot of things are daft, and people can think they're great. But yeah, feel a bit for Jack there. He's at a great break, not got any reward. Jackie's got a chance to take on here. They're a little bit fiddly. He's got to be precise here, as Declan.
Yeah, it's that ball on the left-hand side is quite inaccessible, despite the fact it looks close to the pocket. It's got a good connector at least to it. The ball over the middle gives him natural angle.
He's straight enough here just to be able to hold on the rail.
Well, I don't know about that. If he's trying to play it with drag, it almost felt like he just drops it in dead weight. Don't try and do too much.
I can't... he's so far beyond where he needed to be. I don't think he played on it. I can't believe that would be the case. And he's played it into the cushion, bounced off 6 or 7 inches. I can't imagine he ever hit it by that much. It looks like he's played on the one.
Well, unless he was playing through the gap to play on it and just come up short, but that seemed an unnecessary way to play. I mean, it's kind of okay in that he can target that yellow that's to the left of the cue ball and play position. When I say target the yellow, just make sure you have a line past that yellow, and then it can naturally come over. So, I mean, I guess it's okay playing it this way.
Yeah, just a little bit of a curious one. These two aren't the greatest last 2 reds. Don't think this was plan A. Oh, he's hit a good gap there. It's a good shot.
Yeah, this is going to work out fine. Good clearance in the end from Declan.
Yeah, and you have to say, you know, you can't play pin perfect pool all the time, especially when the layouts are as fiddly as that. Sometimes it is about making sure that you still manage to find a way, and that's what Declan did very, very well indeed there. Oh, ball made. Oh, another funky looking split.
Yeah, it would actually have helped his case if that red had stayed over the bottom pocket instead of going into it. He's going to prefer the reds, but it's just whether he can make that plant bottom left that he's looking at.
Extension.
It's just, you could take one independently of the other. It's just difficult to land on. I don't think he's straight enough on this red to the centre. Looks like he's got too much angle to almost follow it down the rail, if you like, and sneak an angle on the bottom red. But he could, for example, play on this one dead straight, and he leaves a thin red down to the bottom left. He can take them one after the other.
Yeah, it's ugly both ways. It's a very ugly plant that's pointing clearly at the cushion and the space between them. As you say, tricky to find the gap between them. Could try and bump into... Well, it's going to go for the plant.
Oh, I'm amazed he's taking the plant on. It's a brave shot. Played that really well.
It's
Made that look
like
a
it was over
lot
the hole,
easier
hasn't
than it was, yeah. That was not as simple as Declan Brennan just made that look.
It was the shot that had opened it up. If he went any other way, he was going to have to play a couple of good shots. That way he just had to commit to that one, and then this is his prize. This has been really solid stuff, hasn't it? Every time he's been at the table, bar that one positional mistake, where he's snooking himself and needed the second chance, he's looked pretty deadly.
I think Simon Webb summed it up really well in the studio before our semi-finals earlier on, that these two players, of course, Declan being one of them, their floor is so high in terms of what they can produce. You know, their floor is quite a lot of players' ceilings.
Yeah, isn't it just?
So, you know, anything above their lowest game is a really, really elite level. And Decky's playing at a really elite level here.
3-frame deficit. Definitely doesn't want that getting any higher. Well, the keyboard was tracking towards the pocket, but stopped in its tracks, and he'll be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fabulous break, isn't it? Talked earlier around that sort of conversation around Greg's break and the changes he's made and all the rest of it, about who has got the best break in the English 8-ball world. And I know he's not going to be a part of that world for much longer, but for me, Jack Whelan's still number one. Really do think it ticks every single box.
It's just such an effortless power, isn't it? Hits it so hard, but still controls it.
It's the control for me. It's just so repeatable. So rarely is he anywhere near those corner pockets.
I feel like he can get the red past the yellow fairly clean.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Suddenly, a couple of shots in, you suddenly can't see a problem. 4 balls and acres of space at the top of the table. This is a key frame for Jack and a key frame for making this a competitive semi-final. 5-1 would be a real chase. 4-2 though, it's still very much in it. You just know that either of these players are more than capable of sequencing a few frames together very quickly. One dry break can suddenly cost you 2 or 3 frames.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to Jack. You know, on his last break, he's not seen the table since.
Very tough school.
Ooh, that one wobbled. Almost missed that, and that's the reason why this cue ball was close to being inaccessible for the 8-ball. He's given himself a bit of a chastising there, Jack Whelan. That was nearly a very poor one.
Yeah, that's just a little reminder to himself. He got away with that, but doesn't want to take his eye off the pot, even if it's an easy one.
By not having a huge winning mentality. And another dry break. This time it swings the Wonders' way. First chance for Whelan.
It's easy to forget just how long he's been at the top of the game as well. We were talking about it earlier in commentary. I'm trying to remember what year his world title was. And the answer turned out to be 2015, which
Yeah.
is further back than we were guessing.
It feels like a long time ago, doesn't it? And there's good reason for that. It was.
Yes.
Nearly a decade ago now.
A lot has happened in individuals' lives and in the world since then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also got 2 world doubles titles. the extensive trophy cabinet at home. So key shot coming up, just going to make the transition from the ball at the top of the table to get in amongst the ones at the bottom. That's pretty good. There was a reasonable gap on that side. Screw over into the red that's to the right hand side of the table, or may just try and find a gap. And that's nicely on one of the two balls to the right centre. This frame should be all but complete. It does target that red. That was always a good ball to hit. Full ball cannon would have left him straight on the ball to the right centre. Got a bit more angle than he was wanting. Really low on the cue ball, just wants to kill the pace. Played some good cannons here, he's made good use of the reds at this end of the table. A little bit between shots here. If he was a bit straighter on the ball to the bottom right corner, he'd like to take that first and hold for the one in the middle to give simple guaranteed position on the 8 ball. Very thin to play that shot from where he is, but if he plays the other ball first, that's also tricky. I think he's going to have to play the one to the middle, but he's not going to get perfect shape. He's played that well. That's about as far back as he could risk going, but wanted to try to make sure he didn't leave this ball too thin. No problem with the pot, but just doesn't want to slip out of position. There's so many reds around the table.
It's a tiny bit short, but I think you take it.
Yeah, he's done well actually to kill the pace to that extent. I think he was probably concerned he was more likely to overrun than underrun that shot. Can just clip this in. Thin one, but no problem with the cue ball. That's always going safe. It's a good pot.
Very, very good.
Right.
Oh, wow. And you can see he's absolutely fizzing with that.
Time running.
Talked about it, didn't we? Not that long ago. The reason why Jack's break is so good is because he so rarely does that. So rarely. And that's just a lapse in concentration.
It's just arrow straight into the corner as well. It's not one of those ones where you can be bemoaning a cannon or something. It's just that was his own doing. And
yeah, those hurt him so much because he loves his break more than anyone else. For as much as people talk about how great it is, he loves it the most, and he knows what a weapon it is and how much he can take from it. And to lose a bit of momentum like that, just look at the split that he's left as well.
Well, it's exactly that, isn't it? Because it's such a good break. If you somehow aren't the one at the table, it's nearly always going to be a bad situation. One difficult ball, which Declan's now got the perfect connector to get on. Just runs the cue ball over. He wants to be just off the right-hand rail. This acts as a good guide for the angle he wants. That's close to perfect. Nothing to do here, just run through. Just wants to end up just off straight. It doesn't really matter with that last yellow because the ball's hanging waiting, but just a tiny bit of angle will make the position easier. And just as ordered. Probably half a ball straighter than he wants to be, but no problem at all. Just run the cue ball through for the 8 ball in the left centre. This is the kind of shot, if you were to be watching the Challenger event, you will see a couple of these missed when you're queuing right across the table. That's where these pros, the point you were making about how high their floor is, they're almost never going to miss, I say, as he misses one.
Wow.
I mean, the point sort of was valid. It was a missable shot. It's exactly the kind of shot Declan's never going to mind leaving himself because he's normally so consistent with it.
That's a jarring miss, that. It really is. You know, Jack's break in this frame was jarring, but there's one that's got bigger consequences, and you just never ever expected a wide there from Declan, Brennan.
It was quite wide as well, wasn't it? Didn't really threaten to drop.
No, he thumped it straight into the heart of the knuckle, as it were. And you know, these new Rasson Apollo tables, brilliant for so many reasons. But one of the things I really like is they're completely flat all the way around the table. Those shots on the old tables, for example, I can certainly see how there'd be a problem. It's awkward bridging, there's lumps and bumps everywhere to manage. You don't have any of those excuses anymore. It's like queuing any ball off, you know, any rail. And Declan deliberately played that shot so he'd be queuing out of the pocket, so he wouldn't have to be on the rail, as it were. He could reach the centre of the cue ball. That is a really poor miss, and it's come out of nowhere for him.
Lucky for him, he's 4-3 up, because at least worst case he's going to be on level terms, but how big is that going to be? Difference between 5-3 and 4
Wants
all.
wants bounce. Oh, he knew straight away.
Well, he's going to have to go the long way for position here.
Yeah. Nothing for short. Oh, would you believe it? And concedes.
He's told by the referee not to concede next time. Frustration, though, understandable. It's a bit unlucky, actually, the way it kind of gripped off the second cushion. In a different world, that would just miss the pocket, and he'd have been on that.
Oh.
A match where we hyped up the standards, suddenly the wheels are right off for both players.
Wow. I mean, this might be even worse than queuing into the top corner pocket. I mean, that is such a bad break from Decky. And all the sort of laws of momentum and all the rest of it that we're so used to seeing, sort of out the window at the moment. It's a bit all over the place, to be honest with you. And not what we're sort of used to expecting. So it will be yellows for Jack Whelan. He's got his extension to use. He's not under too much pressure. Yellow on the top rail is obviously his biggest problem. Well, he's played that shot deliberately to move the move the yellow rather on the left side rail. He's not really done a huge amount with it.
No, he's going to regret that, because with ball in hand, he obviously had the chance to move the ball on the top rail by leaving himself a nice angle. He's played it well, though.
Just shows the cue power he's got there. There wasn't a lot of angle.
He has still got that problem ball that you've just referenced, though. He's not knocked it into a great spot on the left-hand side. Space around it, but just a bit more awkward than he'd want. And he could leave it till the end, use the one to the middle to get position on it, just accept that it's the last ball and screw back for the 8 ball.
I just wonder if he tries to connect it now just to get it out of the way. Certainly not going that way.
With the percentage option, this was the way to guarantee he was going to have a shot.
He's played that really well.
Really crucial frame now, obviously in terms of the score anyway, but particularly in terms of how the score got to where it is. That's a good shot. Being dead straight on this is quite helpful because it makes the pot a bit easier while still allowing you to play position. You're not trying to force the ball off the rail.
Yeah, doesn't try to get too cute with it. Simple stun shot.
After a couple of moments of madness from both players, we're back to a more conventional style of pool.
That's more like it. Oh, these reds look nice.
Yeah, especially if those ones are a plant. They're almost a plant to the top left, probably close enough that they could be made.
Even then, you've got a red so close to them, probably easy enough to work with anyway. Certainly going reds rather than yellows. I wonder if he's going to bump the 8 ball out on this shot though. Yeah, just like that.
From the main camera angle, the plant looks dead set. From the overhead, it's pointing a bit to the left jaw. They're close enough together, this is going to turn into a reverse plant, so he's going to have to take the left-hand side of the front ball. In the end, it was fairly comfortable. And the fact that he was able to get the 8 ball out from that previous shot means that it's in a okay place. It's a little bit guarded, but reasonable area to land in.
Yeah, so much so that I think he's giving a little bit of credit to the thought of maybe leaving that red there, because it's almost guaranteed position on the 8 ball then, really. So this might be a reroute if he goes another way. Because Jack's a player who likes to sort of take his pattern in sections. I think there is some real merit to leaving that red up at the top of the table.
Especially because he was nicely on the one to the right centre. It wasn't like it was chasing after something else. No, as you say, pretty much guaranteed. Just has to make these 3 balls and then meander his way up for the red to give access to the 8 ball. Given where we were a few moments ago when that frame was conceded, he's going to be pretty happy the fact that he's playing for a chance at 5 all. Just come past this red enough that he can get to the bottom. He wouldn't have been happy if he'd left himself full ball hampered, because he wants to be able to screw this ball in. Just leave the other red dead straight for the corner. It's a pretty natural angle. It's just got a little angle towards the left, but just roll this in. I do think he's a player that doesn't allow the problems to play on his mind. He sort of looks like he is, because he often sits in his chair shaking his head a bit, but
yeah,
he does shake it off pretty quickly. And there we are. That was the merit of leaving that ball until last. Guarantees the position.
So 5 all we go. 1 nips, 1 tucks. 13:20 left on the match clock. Oh, wowee. Wow.
Ball in hand from Bulk. Time running.
Well, I can see he didn't hit that great because he had so much topspin. You never really want that action on the ball. That doesn't suggest he'd caught it quite right. Jack Whelan momentarily joking about putting the cue ball outside the break line, but he's going to have to play from north of that line. Should love to just drop in behind the red that's on the break line, but there's no way of getting there from where he's got to play from, so he's going to have to pop this ball just cannon into the yellow, flick it out the way, or else drop behind the red.
Yeah, it's still essentially cue ball in hand for that shot though, because this is where he'd have put it if he had the option, and it wasn't like it was difficult to get there. A little bit of work at the bottom of the table potentially to come to Declan Brennan's rescue.
For a moment it looked like Declan could get a nice lead put together in this match. Then there's a few moments of madness, but the net result is nothing to choose between them. You're right though, it is the fact that the balls are close together at the bottom of the table. That's the only thing that could be an issue for Jack. It's one of those ones where if you keep tight control of the cue ball, you make it look easy and don't need to be cannoning around too much stuff, but if you slip out of position, you can multiply pretty quickly when the balls are so tight together.
Jack glowering at those 3 reds, as if daring them to not come out nicely off this shot. Perfect.
Yeah, there's certainly inevitability about that. Needed some judging that shot. That wasn't an inevitable consequence of playing that cannon, but he's played it nicely. Just slightly overdone that. Would ideally like to have just been able to stun this in and have natural position on the 8 ball. Still fine though. Just run it in and take it in the centre instead.
And Jack Whelan is going to climb the hill.
A few moments ago, as he sideswiped the black in with the side of his cue, this did not look like a likely scoreline.
No. No, it did not.
Very much on the cards if Jack can make a ball here.
Oh, just how good is that break? You can't believe. Oh, I thought that was dry for a second. I think Declan did.
Yeah, one shot in very quickly.
Yeah, bottom left as we look there. It's the thing with the new tables, it's such a nice effect, but when you don't have that little audio cue, you sort of learn to rely on it over the years, haven't you? Don't be wrong, I'm sure there's plenty of, you know, spouses and parents up and down the country who've got one of these in the house and are delighted that it's so much quieter, but yeah. Won't someone think of the players who are listening out for a ball? Chance to win it for Jack Whelan. And that is a lovely first shot.
Almost potted it, which he'd have been happy enough with as well.
Yeah, it's actually awkward enough, the fact that he can't take it next, and he just has to factor that in now. Shouldn't be a problem if he allows it to be, or he can take it next, that helps a lot.
Basically just wants the cue ball back to pretty much where he started that shot from.
Barring anything silly, this should be it.
He's not going to get a better chance for sure. Well, that's a friendly nudge. He'd still have been on the one to the left either way, but now on a choice of balls. So how quick the shot clock catches up with you. You're playing this 15-second portion. Nothing really to think about here though. Just dot to dot for these last 3. It's a reasonable gap, even though those yellows are sort of in play. You shouldn't have any trouble finding the gap between them.
Yeah, this is over. Declan Brennan in a case of what might have been, but Jack Whelan is going to reel off 4 in a row and take his place in the final.
That's some performance from Jack Whelan, isn't it? Facing adversity, 5-3 down when he really shouldn't have been 5-3 down. Regroups, goes again and closes out the match in quite some style. He's played well and he's only going to get better from here. Jack Whelan books his place in the final. We'll take a quick break and then we'll grab a word with our winner.